So this will be the first time I'm recording rFactor2. I'm not really sure how my frame rate's going to be, but just to show off a few things. There's a few things I noticed that were kind of strange. Well, one big thing up here. I was really curious to see how the tires and the wheels would react with the environment, because in rFactor1, if you remember, if you hit any sort of curb or something, the tires are just going to pop up, so-called magically, onto the surface and throw the car around. So I found the grandstands here, and we can maneuver our way on here. Brakes are on. I'm sliding just a bit. So yeah, I found that to be quite interesting. And the rest of this video is just going to be a bit of a cruise around the track here. See how well I can do. These cars are much more difficult to drive than anything in rFactor1, and much more realistic. And as people have been talking about the force feedback being violent and interesting, I'm using a G27 just like the majority of sim racers out there, and you have to turn down the force feedback multiplier in the settings per car. Otherwise, yeah, your wheel's going to tear itself apart. And another thing, in rFactor1 you used to be able to, with real feel anyway, I don't remember the default force feedback, but with real feel, if you're going down a straight here, you let go of the wheel. Hold on, let's get this turn first. And yeah, no, not in this. I have my force feedback turned down a bit light for this track, but you definitely can't let go of the wheel because the car is just going to start beginning to sway back and forth, and it adds a sense of realism. Because I don't think doing 130 miles an hour down a straight, you can just let your hands off of the wheel in a car and be able to trust the car to hold itself straight down the track, like in rFactor1. And these cars are definitely a challenge to drive. We're gonna max out 5th gear up here. I still have to turn down head shake a bit, or head movement. It's still very exaggerated. I haven't completed a full lap of this track yet, so I'll be amazed if I can do it with only 30 FPS. I'm not sure I'm going to make this turn this fast. Oh, I saved it, alright. Yeah, you really have to constantly adjust when you're going down straights, because any little bump in the road is going to change the handling of the car. And it's pretty scary, and I think that it also helps add to the realism. You shouldn't feel comfortable in a car from the 60s doing 140 miles an hour. Because you would, back then you'd be able to realize or understand that you could die at any moment, and you should feel that while you're driving. Because right now, I feel like I could die any moment. Because every moment I've driven in rFactor2, I've died. Oh! And just like that, going down the straight, it just gets squirrely, and it's... Yes, I'm using the 8 shifter, default one that comes with the G27 and the G27's pedals. No auto clutch, no assists, no nothing. This thing kicks sideways under braking. Alright, we're good. And we're at the end. Yes, the sounds are much improved over rFactor1 as well. One thing I don't particularly enjoy, the sounds echoing off of surfaces close by. You can probably hear that in the left channel if I back up. You hear that in the left channel if I back up. It's gone. Do it going forward too. Gone again. So it's a bit weird. It's a bit over exaggerated, I think. You can even hear it with the car sounds. And obviously everyone's seen the bugs where if you crash and lose a wheel, the suspension sort of stays attached to the car and it stretches across the map and kind of freaks out. But why don't I go down the stairs one more time up here, and then we'll examine that in the replay.
Dr. Nick has left the server.
And that's Venturlo in the background. I still think it would be neat. I originally came here to kind of see how the suspension would work and how the wheels would react with the ground or the surface. And I kind of hope that in future updates they could set this surface to actually have some traction. Because I guess in real life, if you wanted to take a car down that, you could. So let's go back here, and we'll take a look here, and let's take this view. It's in slow motion at the moment, so but you can see the soft body physics of the tires. You can see that right rear compresses there. But if we watch it go down, things seem to react pretty nicely. Other than the wheels kind of staying compressed going down. It should be off the ground there. There, you can see it pops up. So that would be nice if that was a bit of a smoother transition, like that. But I guess these stairs weren't really meant to be driven on, and hence they're kind of buggy. But other than that, I mean, the suspension reacted very nicely. I know if I did that in rFactor1, it'd be spazzing out and kind of jumping around. Though it kind of does here, but it more or less does that because I'm on, it seems to be ice. But those are just some impressions of the game. Things sound wonderful. Some of the ambient sounds aren't necessary, though. For example, the cows moving in the background and such. A bit unnecessary. One more thing I just thought of. And that's another thing that I noticed. Traction levels at this speed are kind of odd. But just rolling off that thing seemed to work pretty nice. And going up on, it's nice too. Everything works as expected. You bounce off nice, and give it some gas. It'll skid up and grip like that. Let's see if we can get the front tire over. Lovely old differentials. But it does its job. One thing that I did notice that I said about the traction being sort of odd, is if I roll up like this, get the front tire lined up here. It'll pop right over if I roll at its speed. But now if I go up and it doesn't seem to be doing it. Must have just been a bug last time previous times I've tried to do this. Yeah, it works fine. I would just have like no traction. The rear tires would float at like a mile an hour, just spinning in place like they were on ice. But everything really does seem to be working well. You can see the soft body maybe, if we do that. Reverse back over this. Kind of like that, but I think that right there is... One other thing that I did notice with tire wear, the way flat spotting worked, was visually anyway, it seemed that the more wear you had on one spot of the tire, the darker that area would become. And it seems that if you kind of sit there and do a burnout like I just did, sometimes you get like a bunch of black patches after doing that. And if we roll through the light a moment here, it's not as apparent now, but right now you can kind of see some light spots poking up on the left tire over there. So it's just a bit odd. I think those transitions should be a bit smoother. But yeah, just a few thoughts on the game.